Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixie Land. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we are in the book of 2 Chronicles. We are in chapter 24, continuing the story of Joash, the boy king. Joash repairs the temple. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 40 years. His mother's name was Zibiah, Zibiah. She was from Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all the years of Jehoiada the priest, also known as uncle and surrogate dad. Jehoiada chose 2 wives for him, and he had sons and daughters. Sometime later, Joash decided to restore the temple of the Lord. He called together the priests and the Levites and said to them, "Go to the towns of Judah and collect the money due annually from all Israel to repair the temple of your God. Do it now." But the Levites didn't act as once. Therefore, the king summoned Jehoiada, the chief priest, and said to him, "Why haven't you required the Levites to bring in from Judah and Jerusalem the tax imposed by Moses, the servant of the Lord, and by the assembly of Israel for the tent of the testimony?" Now, you should know that in the longer story, he said to do this at 7, and at 23, nothing had happened in the repairs. So he took it into a different oversight sort of way. Now the sons of that wicked woman, Athaliah, had broken into the temple of God and had used it, even its sacred objects, for the Baals or the Baals. Oh no. Now they're not pure. They're ritually impure. At the king's command, a chest was made and placed outside at the gate of the temple of the Lord. A proclamation was issued in Judah and Jerusalem that they should bring to the Lord the tax that Moses, the servant of God, had required of Israel in the desert. All the officials and all the people brought their contributions gladly, dropping them into the chest until it was full. Whenever the chest was brought in by the Levites to the king's officials, and they saw that there was a large amount of money, the royal secretary and the officer of the chief priest would come and empty the chest and carry it back to its place. They did this regularly and collected a great amount of money. The king and Jehoiada gave it to the men who carried out the work required for the temple of the Lord. They hired masons and carpenters to restore the Lord's temple, and also workers in iron and bronze to repair the temple. The men in charge of the work were diligent, and the repairers progressed under them. They rebuilt the temple of God according to its original design and reinforced it. When they had finished, they brought the rest of the money to the king and Jehoiada, and with it were made articles for the Lord's temple, articles for the service and for the burnt offerings, and also dishes and other objects of gold and silver. As long as Jehoiada lived, burnt offerings were presented continually, so night and day, in the temple of the Lord, which would make sense if you're thinking about their sacrificing these animals, believing that they're removing sin from the population at large of over 1 million people. So, because they were 1 million people when they were wandering through the desert. So that's pretty much ebbed and flowed up and down based upon plagues and wars, if you will, over time. But usually in Judah itself, roughly 300,000 people is show. So, that's a lot of sin, for sure. Now, Jehoiada was old and full of years, and he died at the age of 130. He was buried in the kings, with the kings of the city of David, because of the good he had done in Israel. for the God and for his temple. So he was given a king's burial. The wickedness of Joash. After the death of Jehoiada, the officials of Judah came and paid homage to the king, and he listened to them. They abandoned the temple of the Lord, the God of their fathers, and worshipped Asherah poles and idols. Because of their guilt, God's anger came upon Judah and Jerusalem. Although the Lord sent prophets to the people to bring them back, and though they testified against them, they would not listen. Then the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, son of Jehoiada the priest. He stood before the people and said, "This is what God says. Why do you disobey the Lord's commands? You will not prosper. Because you have forsaken the Lord, he has forsaken you." But they plotted against him, and by order of the king, they stoned him to death in the courtyard of the Lord's temple. King Joash did not remember the kindness Zechariah's father Jehoiada had shown to him, but killed his son, who said as he lay dying, "May the Lord see this and call you to account." Because remember, in the way the system, all this works. If you pray, if they pray, this is the belief system. It's part of the Judeo-Christian belief system. If you pray to God for something, you pray because you're in distress. You pray. God hears, and if he hears enough prayers about exactly the same thing, he's going to send down some kind of earth angel in disguise, somebody they won't know to really see how they are, and, take that into account and bring justice. Justice doesn't mean that God is just going to do whatever we told him to do. He's going to do what's fair for you and them, not one or the other. Now, if one is clearly in the right, the other one clearly in the wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. I always say whatever the Lord says is right, so his will is what is just. And I just ask him to bring justice to the situation, because what's balanced and fair is what's justice. At the turn of the year, we have the footnote of A, probably in the spring due to the Jewish calendar, the army of Aram marched against Joash. It invaded Judah and Jerusalem and killed all the leaders of the people. They sent all the plunder to their king in Damascus, so it wasn't very far away at the time. Normally, Aram is further away than Damascus, but this is after they had conquered that particular part of the area. There was several Armenian kings that, if you were to go watch documentaries, marched around during these various BC eras, conquering. Although the Armenian army had come with only a few men, the Lord delivered them into the hands of a much larger army, because Judah had forsaken the Lord, the God of their fathers. Judgment was executed on Joash. When the Armenians withdrew, they left Joash severely wounded. His officials conspired against him for murdering the son of Jehoiada the priest, and they killed him in his bed. So he died and was buried in the city of David, but not in the tombs of the kings. So he was not popular there. Those who conspired against him were Zabad, Z-A-B-A-D, with a footnote of B, a variant of Jehozabad, J-O-Z-A-B-A-D, the son of Shimeath, an Ammonite woman. Jehozabad, the son of Shimerith, which is a variant of Shomer, according to this footnote, a Moabite woman. The account of his sons, the many prophecies about him, and the record of restoration of the temple of God are written in the annotations on the book. In the annotations on the book of Kings. So in annotations, but not like, say, a whole page, is how I read that, in the book of Kings. And Amaziah, his son, succeeded him as king. So, if you want to know about Amaziah's reign according to the Levitical view during the Babylonian diaspora, you're going to need to come back to watch the next video, friends.